Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Alright, so first up for D&D, I have the I'm just a woman with a master's degree that loves tacos mug because it feels like a tacos kind of day for me, in spite of the fact that I just had pizza. Not the point. And in it, I have some Tension Tamer from Celestial Seasonings. I slammed my head into a door frame earlier because I'm a very tall person and wasn't looking where I was going. And so I have a little bit of a headache, so I'm hoping that will help walk it back for me. Just a touch. Not the point. Anyway, I highly recommend this tea if you haven't tried it before. It's fantastic. Getting into what it is that we are talking about today. Today we are going to talk about 3 ways, count them 3, to start a campaign with that are a little different than maybe normal. Apparently, I've got a fresh campaign kind of on the brain right now. I'm looking at potentially starting up a kind of low-key game with my friends here coming up pretty soon. And so I've been kind of like thinking about it, which is where yesterday's video idea came from, today's video ideas come from, and likely there will be a couple more as we go here. So yeah. I did talk about different places slash ways to talk or to start a campaign back in season 1 that are not just a tavern. And I don't believe that these are on there. My notes say that they're not. My notes could be wrong because I like to improvise when I say things. And so, please forgive me if I repeat any of these. I'm pretty confident that at least 2 of them definitely aren't, but that third one might be. And by that third one, I mean the first one we're going to talk about. So, let's get into it, shall we? First up, really fun kind of way to kick off your game. Fun way to, sort of get your players introduced to each other as characters, and really sort of can give a reasoning for anybody to be there. A Masquerade Ball. Or like a large social gathering of any kind, but a Masquerade Ball kind of like really fits the bill of like this good beginning point. And it is weirdly one of the perfect places to actually put a party of new characters. There were a lot of P's in that sentence, I'm realizing. But you can have characters from any walk of life, anywhere they could have been at this event, because they've been invited, they've been hired, they are there casing something, they are there to do something. Like, you can come up with pretty much any reason that somebody would be at a highfalutin, high society kind of event pretty easily, honestly. And so in a session 0 with players, you don't necessarily have to have the players know each other ahead of time. Obviously, you could have it be where they are all together and they go, okay, we're this group, this is why we're going to this ball, great, done. But you could also have session 0 where you sit down, you lay out all of sort of like the ground rules, get all of your boundaries set and everything like that. Then you can pull your players one by one off into a side room or something and ask them, like what is the backstory that you are going with, or at this point they've submitted their backstory to you, and you have a reasoning for them to be at this ball. So it is a really fun way to like kick off a campaign, because honestly, you can go pretty much anywhere from there. Like maybe from the ball they immediately end up in like the sewers or something. That's a totally different thing, and a huge tone shift, and it will impact the way that the players react to the situation. Like, if you have a character who has been invited, they are of nobility, of status, whatever, to be at this ball, and then they're forced into the sewers almost right away. That's not great. That's really not great. And there's so many different like hooks that you could have in here. Maybe people are there to protect / kill / schmooze with a particular person of power within the city. Maybe there's something there that one person wants to steal and another person has been hired to guard, and something goes on. Maybe they're all just kind of there doing their jobs, and then somebody is like sucked through a portal or something, and they are tasked with figuring it out. there's a bunch of different ways you can kind of force the people together in this way to sort of fuse them into this party makeup that you are often looking for, obviously. And it's particularly interesting because it does almost ask at least one of your players to become that sort of nobility type, which a lot of times people end up playing street rats and stuff, just sort of stuff like that, because that is the more typical adventurer backstory. There aren't a lot of nobles that would just like leave their noble life for no real reason. So definitely a solid way to sort of drag nobility out into the open and have them have some sort of development. Or, I mean, maybe something happens, the party members get framed for it, and they're sent on the run. I think that I had them being wanted for a crime as part of the original video that I did. And so that is definitely a fun way to kick it off, just because, like, I mean, who doesn't want to go to some, like, crazy social event like that as in character where, like, I don't know, you could be a fighter who can break a table over somebody's head, and you're expected to rein it in until something happens, and you're just waiting for that to happen. Honestly, it's an entertaining kind of idea, and every time that I've had one run for me or run one for people, they have loved it. So think about it. Maybe you start there next time. Next up, in the list of 3, so number two, that was a 1, the first one, that's a 2, is an Oceans style heist. This obviously takes a lot more planning on the DM's part, or if you have a big enough party and you have one particular individual in the party who wants to be like the mastermind behind everything, hand it off to them. Have them plan everything out and have them help you write the first portion of the story here. Honestly, it's a good way for new DMs to sort of enlist the help almost of the table, or enlist the help of maybe the forever DM who has stepped aside for a second here, and have them like sort of help the person along, get some of the groundwork laid out, and then after they have sort of erected this plan, this huge massive thing that they're going to try and do, this thing they're going to try and steal or change or whatever it ends up being, then the DM takes it and walks away with it, and then they just write the I guess quote unquote bad guys side of it. Like they write all of the security that would be around it. They write everything that could go wrong here, all of the problems that the players are going to run into, and they have the insanity already figured out. And people don't do enough heists in D&D. I haven't gotten to run one in a long time, and I'm really wanting to do one coming up here. That is what I'm actually leaning towards for this game that I'm thinking about starting. Just because, like, You see movies, right? You see movies, and people in movies get to do heists. People in movies get to do crazy things. Why can't people in games do crazy things? Why can't people in games, have all of these amazing adventures like that are, more grounded than going and killing a dragon on top of a mountain, which is also amazing and awesome and everything like that. But something about it being like a heist, like something tangible that, could actually happen in the real world, makes it just that much more exciting for people, it feels like, almost. And so I love it when I get to throw them in there. They don't necessarily always play super well with the continuation of the story following that. If you are looking for a long-term campaign, you kind of have to center the heist around an idea that will then become a theme for your campaign moving forward, or a main, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. It's going to be a plot point, essentially, that evolves and works with you. And so it's definitely one of those things where, like, you have to have a little bit more forethought than just, man, I'm going to do a heist and it's going to be awesome. But that could be it too. If you want to see a heist run really well, definitely check out Tiny Heist from Dimension 20. It's amazing, it's hilarious, and I highly recommend you checking that one out, because it was so much fun to get to watch. That is the end of number 2, which brings us to number 3, which is one that I haven't actually run, but I would be very, very excited to get to run it, and I honestly hope that I do get to run it at some point here. That is being key witnesses in a murder trial. Hear me out, okay? Just hear me out here. let me paint you a picture, right? The party members are wandering through the streets one day. They're just kind of walking. They're going about their business, and they see somebody get murdered. And then it is noted that they see somebody get murdered. It doesn't necessarily have to be murder. It could be pretty much anything. But a murder is kind of like the thing that like would hook most people to stick around, maybe more so than just like a breaking and entering kind of thing. But somebody gets killed, maybe somebody of importance or something like that. Somebody with enough influence that it would matter, and they would have some kind of a trial for it. And they are brought in as key witnesses on the trial. Now, the important part of this is that for some reason, the trial is being ruled against them specifically. Like, very, very intentionally ruled against their word. Like, they saw the killer run away. It is very specifically being ruled against what they are saying. There's an innocent person getting ready to go to prison, be, executed, something like that. And so, as the 3 people that have seen it, they, go on a little adventure. I say 3. It could be any number of people, but we're going to pretend it's a 3-person party. They could be the people. Or they go on an adventure to catch the real killer, get them to confess, and then, bring that person to court or something like that. I don't know. The end of that isn't super fleshed out, but like, they bring the person to justice in some capacity, and then from bringing that person to justice, that could spiral into further and further things where like maybe the person was working for something higher, so the campaign kind of becomes like taking down a crime family or taking down like a serial killer that it employs other people to like help on kills and stuff like that, or it's a religious organization that is sacrificing individuals to deities or demons or something like that. Like, just build off of it, just like take whatever the motive of that original killer is, just take it and turn it up to 11, just like crank it all the way up. And you got yourself some kind of weird, off-kilter kind of beginning point for your campaign. And it could go so far as like the party is the only set of people that are actually like attempting to solve what is going on. And that will lead you to a more like investigative, I guess, kind of campaign, which is an interesting thing because you don't get a lot of those necessarily in 5th edition normally. Usually it is more focused around like, go kill that big thing. Ta-da! And obviously it can culminate in like a big fight or whatever. Or, I don't know, maybe if, whoever's in power is the one orchestrating all of these murders, blah, blah, blah. They, upset the power structure and rebuild the city from the ground up, blah, whatever. That one, I guess, is a little bit more common, weirdly enough, than just straight up PI work. But it is worth taking a look at and, thinking about. Because honestly, I have never seen a campaign started with a murder trial. I really haven't. So those are my 3 unconventional, I guess, kind of ways to start a campaign. 3 settings that are not just them meeting in a tavern. There's nothing wrong with meeting in a tavern. Let me be totally clear. But 3 ways to start a campaign that isn't just meeting in a tavern, because sometimes you want to spice it up just a little bit. Moving on to the shows we have coming out today on this lovely, lovely Tuesday. We have... Ready? Diary of a Dragon Pit, Star Wars First Resistance, Dungeons and Daddies, Bombarded, Hekva V&D, Glass Cannon, and The Queer Questers. Definitely go check out any of those. Highly, highly recommend getting your fill of a little bit more D&D from one of these shows. Smaller shows in particular. Give them some love. Tell them I sent you. Because why not? Why not? Right? Spread the love. let people know that you're watching them. But that is everything that I have to talk to you guys about today. Thank you so much for making me part of your running routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you're interested in becoming a patron and you'd like to, there's a link to my Patreon in the description of this episode. I am going to be doing some sort of revamp of my Patreon so that it focuses more on this show. So don't be surprised if there are some relatively major shifts in what is going on there in the coming days. But thank you so much for your patience on that one. I do very much appreciate it, and I very much appreciate all of the support. But as I mentioned, that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. So with that in mind, don't forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.